Welcome back to day 2 of our holiday special. For our next mini-sode, we're going to be taking a look at Magic the Gathering and what it may possibly bring to Lorcana. We hope you all enjoy, and everyone, take it away.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Sean with the Glimmer Gang, and today I got a special little episode for our holiday series. We're going to be covering Magic the Gathering. This is a game that I've been playing for about 19 years now, and it's a game that's near and dear to my heart, so let's get into it. So as far as routes for competitive play, Magic the Gathering has one of the more established, or it used to be more established, ways to get to the top. So usually you'd start at F&M at your local Friday Night Magic, testing out your builds and really testing the waters of being competitive in Magic and seeing if that's really something you want to further. From that point, you usually move on to state or regional qualifiers, move to regional champs. You also have the Pro Tour and the World Championship after that. Now, they have a neat little diagram on their website that I couldn't really make any sense of, but it looks cool. It's like a pyramid. That's how you get to the top. It used to be you just went and played and you got on the Pro Tour, and then that was it. Now it's a little more complicated, but you can still make it. The formats that are used mainly for these competitions are Pioneer and Limited. Modern and Standard are represented a little bit more in the F&M side, but the Pioneer format, it uses regular core sets from the game, from expansion sets dating all the way back to 2012 with Return to Ravnica rather. And limited format, as a lot of TCG players know, it's you get a booster pack. With sealed, you get 6 boosters. With draft, you get 3, and you pick one past one, and or pick one past the pack. Some of the structure for when you play Magic the Gathering, the structure of your turn is you have your beginning phase, which you untap, upkeep, and draw. So you untap your permanents. Your upkeep is usually when a lot of abilities trigger. It's a little spot where a card will say during your upkeep. Or it's also, you can pay prices too. There's a lot of cards that have like cumulative upkeep, that kind of thing. And then you draw your card for the turn. Once you've done that, you move to your pre-attack main phase. That's when you can play creatures, enchantments, sorcery spells, essentially anything that is sorcery speed in that game. You can play instants too. You can play instants pretty much any time during this, but during this phase and the post-combat main phase are when you can play the creatures, planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts, unless they have flash. And then you move to your attack phase, which you declare attackers on your opponent's life. You attack either your opponent directly, or you can attack a planeswalker they control, and then they decide if they want to block. The defending player is who decides, all right, well, I'm going to block this creature with this creature, and I'm going to block this creature with this creature, or I'm not going to block it all, and I'm going to take it all to the face. So that is one thing that does set Magic apart from a lot of other TCGs is you choose, or the defender chooses. The resource system is a deck-based resource system with the land system that they have. There are 5 colors of land. It's the fuel that you use to power your spells and creatures and abilities and so forth. And that leads me to the mana curve, which a lot of veteran Magic the Gathering players understand. The mana curve is you want to hit a land drop on all of your turns. So you want to have the correct amount of mana in your deck, and it also has to do with the pricing of creatures and spells in your deck. Like, you want enough small creatures and spells to where you can cast stuff early game, but you don't want to clog your deck up with too many little things, and you want to cast some big things later on when you're able to, when you're more established. So what are your guys' thoughts on Magic the Gathering, what you hope to see and what hope not to see in Lorcana?
I know, I don't have that much experience with Magic. I think I went to, one pre-release, and I barely knew what I was doing, because I think it's definitely a hard game to learn, I won't lie. But one of the things I do want to see is, that pre-release format, and then the sealed and draft and stuff like that. That just sounds so fun. I think it's one of the easiest way to teach the game too, because it's not like somebody's coming in with their world's level deck. They're coming in all on an even playing field. And I think that's something that's really cool. And Lorcana should, even if Lorcana officially doesn't do it, people will still do it no matter what. So I definitely think that's something that will come to Lorcana.
Yeah, it just depends on how they have the booster set up. Just because like Magic and most other games, the boosters are literally just, they're draft boosters, so they're designed to be drafted. Like if you draft with like a set booster in Magic, you're gonna have a very different experience. So hopefully Lorcana is designing draft boosters to be used specifically for that purpose, or has alternate options like fat packs that you could use just for a straight up just sealed event, which is pretty cool. I'd be totally down for that if they had like non-draft boosters, but then had some sort of draft other option. But yeah, as far as like Magic, I think Magic's pretty cool in the sense of mixing around your colors and having a whole bunch of different creatures in the field that interact with each other in different ways. It gives you a lot of different options on how you can play the game, which is really cool. I think the biggest criticism of Magic, which is the one that I think most people are hoping to be fixed with Lorcana, is the land system. The resource system just causes the fact that it's inside the deck can cause a lot of problems, from making deck building more complicated all the way to having issues with things like mana screw, which is you don't draw enough mana, or mana flood, where you draw too much mana, and it can just lead to problems with playing the game and not having a good experience. So hopefully with the ink system that Ravensburger has going on with Lorcana, we don't have those issues that we have with Magic. But otherwise, I think it's going to be relatively similar just based off the cards that we've seen so far, just with different win conditions.
Yeah, I will say on the gameplay size, the attack phase especially, that to me, whether it's going to be like your opponent choosing which cards to defend against the attacks or you attacking certain cards, that'll really determine how good some cards are. Like Corella, like it's really good if you get to choose to defend with your Corella, but if your opponent gets to choose what they attack, they can just ignore your Corella entirely. So seeing what rule they choose to go with that will really set the tone for some cards.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and with Magic, the competitive scene, particularly in the last couple of years, has been rather rocky. I know that Sean kind of went with the classic model, which was in place for like 25 years, but Wizards decided that wasn't what they wanted to be using anymore. In fact, at one point, they decided they didn't want any IRL competitive Magic. So I'm hoping that Ravensburger and the people at Lorcana, appreciate how important IRL competitive is and make sure that they're making a good competitive system that's simple to follow, which Magic's has traditionally not been. And then also, back in the day, Standard and Modern were the staples for competitive play. And Magic has moved away from those and has been getting a lot of flack for it. And I'm hoping that Lorcana sticks to that classic structure because it's simple and it makes sense and it works. And it's good for new players and experienced players both.
The resource system definitely doesn't need to be in the deck. With One Piece's Dawn system, Digimon's memory gauge system, I know there are other examples of resource systems not being in the deck, where if they are in the deck, they pull some sort of double duty. I think in Dragon Ball, you use your characters as energies. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Or it's something similar to that from what I've gathered from it. But yeah, like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, the way that they have their resource system built into the deck, I just don't think that's optimal, and I hope we don't see that.
Thoughts on the changes to the competitive scene in Magic?
Honestly, once all those big changes went into effect, I stopped following Pro Magic for the most part. Like you said, they stopped doing it in person entirely. Wasn't that it was partially due to COVID? Yes, was that? Am I wrong?
I
there?
mean,
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah. So they did that, and then they tried to do didn't they do a pro league where they invited like people that weren't even necessarily that good at Magic, but they like were personalities?
yeah. So the thing with
Wasn't that what?
the
like,
thing with that transition is they shut down the in-person Magic, tried to switch everything over to Magic Arena, and then tried to turn it into an esport using an esport model, and it just didn't work. It lasted for a year, and then they shut it down.
I don't know. I hopefully they are they're going to fix some of those issues. I have full faith in Ravensburger to be able to bring us a strong organized play scene right out of the gate. I would love to. Hopefully that I'm correct in that assumption. I think that Ryan Miller, since it is so near and dear to his heart, that this has been a consideration since the very beginning. And plus, there are always good reasons to gather Disney fans together, whether it's to play the game. Disney isn't necessarily looking at this as like trying to make people happier. They are also trying to make money. They're a business. So like any gathering of Disney people is dollar signs to Disney. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Thank you everybody for tuning in to this episode in our holiday special series. I hope y'all have a great holiday. See you later.
Thanks everyone for listening to episode 2. We hope you enjoyed it, and we can't wait for episode 3 to release, which is going to be tomorrow, and we're covering Yu-Gi-Oh! Thanks, and Glimmer on.